Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Post Credits Podcast, a show where we are very lucky to talk about movies with you. This is
Yeah.
episode 21, recorded on March 16th, 2025, to get posted on services on March 18th, 2025. All the usual spots: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and then YouTube a day or
YouTube.
two later.
Day of.
I
It's
am
always
I
day
am one of
of.
your well, okay, fair enough, day of. I am one of your hosts, Grayson. Who the heck doesn't like pie? Maxwell. Joining me as he does every week is one of my co-hosts, Roger. I love the cringy sounds of bones breaking. It makes
Mm.
me happy. Stillion. It was
Actually,
I
you know what
and,
really made me cringe about Novocaine was
oh,
like the pan sizzle on the hands.
what didn't
Like,
make your
oh,
like
mm.
seeing his hand after he dumped
The
it
deep
after he dunk
fryer?
oh
No,
god.
like
Oh
no.
dude, and when his nails were getting ripped out, oh, I can't, I just can't, I cannot handle that kind of stuff. I
Yeah.
really struggle with handling bodily. I don't mind people getting like sliced, their heads cut off, and like something, or like John Wick when the violence is pretty ratcheted up, but it's not like that. It's the gore violence, like the Saw level violence that we get a little bit of in Novocaine. That's the stuff I really struggle with. Because I can't imagine my nails fall. I cannot imagine you pull my
Not
nails out.
falling
I'll
out,
do
buddy.
like
Just
whatever
being
you want.
pulled out.
I can't.
Like,
I could just no thanks. But
and then they zoom in where like the little skin shards are like hanging
still
like
there.
bleh.
Oh man. Well, there's so much to talk about. How's
Yeah.
your week, man? And if you, dear listener, notice, it's just Roger and me this week. Chris is he's off doing something.
He's got stuff going on.
He's
But
out in the wilds being
so
Chris.
it's so Monday is St. Patrick's Day. So
Ooh.
it's like St. Patrick's Day weekend for a lot of people. We had a party at my house. I had a bunch of people over. It was a good time. Realized I'm too old to drink like that on a regular basis. Just, oof.
Well, how did you?
You
So
know,
you did this yesterday, right?
did this yesterday. Yes, I did.
And how did you feel when you woke up this morning?
Mm,
Just
fucking not great. If we're gonna be
aces,
honest
huh?
with you.
Yeah,
No,
I can. I
it took me all day to shake this hangover. I'm not like, look, I feel better now and I have more energy than I've had at any point during the day. So like, I'm ready to roll.
I'm not
I
really a
told I told
go
Grayson
ahead.
though, so like I watched Novocaine today, and I was like I was hungover when I got there, and I was like if Novocaine stinks, I'm gonna have a real fucking shitty afternoon. Novocaine does not stink. It's pretty fucking good. We'll talk about that here later, but that was definitely something that was like lingering in my brain for a while.
That's tough. I've never really been a big drinker to begin. Like, I mean, maybe for a year or two in college, but never really otherwise. And I waking up when you're drunk in your 20s, like after you've had a really hard night of drinking, like you really consume more than you should have, is not quite so bad. It sucks for a little while. You get some coffee, take some aspirin, you're good to go within an hour.
Yeah,
Man, doing it almost in 40s, your late
mm,
30s, 40s is like you might as well just get hit by a truck. It's
fucking
just
sucks.
it's brutal because the headaches that come and everything, it's just like it's not. And then they'll turn the light on. It's like no, just turn the
Uh,
light off.
uh, don't
Can't
need
do it.
that. Nobody wants that.
God, I can't imagine. But I'm glad you are celebrating St. Patty's Day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my non-existent Irish heritage. Yes.
that's good. Well, I mean, hey,
But I actually,
it's
so I
yeah,
did an ancestry thing this past year. I don't know if I told you guys about that.
you did not.
I got a kit for Christmas, and I actually ran through and did that whole thing. So that was kind of cool doing
What are
that.
you? What's your
A
ancestry?
lot of Middle European
Okay.
garbage. Like, I guess garbage is the wrong term. Don't take that the wrong way, but like just a hybrid mix of mostly Germanic, right there in that. Like every other person, in this area that I live in, pretty much.
Well, it's all
That's
what is it called? A mutt or like a mixture
Yeah,
of things that.
mixture of a bunch of people. Yeah.
Well, at this point, the mixing pot is so. I mean, it'd be really tough to like. It's like, and it's like in Harry Potter, like what does Hagrid say? It's like, oh, there's not a wizard alive who's half or more or half
Pure
or
blood.
less.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's just at this point there's just so much intermingling with the generations that I'm
Are
sure there's
you
just too much.
insisting that my magic has become diluted during to my lineage?
I don't know, man, but if you they announced some serious casting choices for the show, and like
Oh
people are
yeah.
not. I'm gonna wait till I get till like Warner Brothers officially announces it to like before I start to like really kind of pontificate on it, but that stuff's starting to come out, so we're getting closer and closer to that as we speak. So
I mean, they want it ready for next summer. So
Speaking of something that's ready shortly is The Last of
Last
Us
of
season
Us. Yep.
2 starts.
Like
And I
3
don't know if
weeks,
you
2 or 3 weeks.
read this, Roger, but Druckmann has recently said that they're not doing part 3 isn't happening on for gaming anymore. It's
Really?
done. Like this is at least the games we have are all we're getting, and whatever's going to continue on, he said they might continue, but it's not going to be games. It'll be
So, I mean,
to
am I
me.
gonna get 14 more versions of, like, Last of Us Part 2?
No, but I assume that means he's just he's tasted the critical acclaim and the money that comes with the TV and the film world, and he's now shifted over. But
I mean,
that really
that's
pisses me off.
fine because, like, look, there are some high level things that they could
Oh,
use
sure.
for properties. So,
I just think if you'd have left it at the end of the first, that very ambiguous question, if she's like, "Well, did you kill everyone or not?" and he's like, "I don't think I did." But I mean, you can leave it at that because that whole thing's about love and hate. And but now that there's two parts, you can't
mhm.
stop there. You have to because it's you got to now continue and finish the story. So at least that's my
Yeah.
take on it. Is I was pretty pissed we're not getting a third installment. At least what he said.
Well,
I
I
would have
mean,
assumed this whole time. I would have assumed they've been working on it for years, but I guess I was wrong about that.
here's the thing, maybe they have been, and maybe they just hit some roadblocks they can't get around. Maybe
I
that's
don't know,
one of
man.
the
I'm
things.
really excited for season two. I just want to see where they go with it because that's a very mature, divisive story, and I'm excited
Sure.
to see what they're going to do with it, how they're going to do with it. That's what I'm worried about is
Well, yeah,
how.
and I mean, the first season had some really strong, really it set some really strong ground roots. So I'm excited to watch that for
Well, who's
sure.
the girl that we like, Roger? I know we've spoken very highly of her in the past. She's been in a lot of things that we like. She was in Booksmart.
Caitlin Devers.
Caitlin Devers, I think Devers,
Yeah,
however you say it.
I think it's Devers.
She's Abby, and she may not have like the physical presence that Abby has to have on screen, but
She's-
she's gonna be great as like the devious. I think she's gonna kill it. I'm okay with that casting because like Caitlin
yeah,
Dever can kill it, man.
yeah, she's good. What
So,
was that other movie with aliens? What movie was that?
oh, the Hulu one.
Yeah,
I don't remember the name of it, but it was like an
that was
alien
weird.
invasion.
That was fucking weird.
Yeah, it was different though, and
Yeah.
I like different. So
I mean, like, look,
speaking of
maybe that
different,
means, like, look, if Druckmann wants to make more TV shows off of video games, I'm down with that, right? I mean, you can't
I
really
agree.
can't use Uncharted, unfortunately, because they made that all the way up to the movie side. But Uncharted would have been a hell of an episodic. I
I
think.
disagree with that. I think that needs to be film
You think so?
oriented.
Huh?
Yeah, I have my when the next Uncharted movie comes out, we'll talk about this because that is definitely on the slate. So we'll have a chance to talk about this sometime in the near, somewhat future, I think. But this week we have a good show. We are blabbering on right now. We're going to talk about some box office. Then we have a
Yeah,
recommendation by Roger,
yeah.
and then
Ooh.
before we get into Novocaine, we're going to talk about action movies similar adjacent to Novocaine. Do we get them very much anymore? I would argue we don't get these very much.
Not as much as
This
we used to.
this kind, and I'll tune in, dear listener, and hear what I mean. But we'll get to that
Hmm.
very shortly. But
Foreshadowing.
let's talk about some box office.
Let's
And
do it.
this week is kind of slow because Novocaine is number one earner for this week. So congratulations to
So
Novocaine.
yeah,
But
I saw that might take it, and I was kind of surprised. Like,
I
I
am
mean,
very surprised. Novocaine at only the top earner being this 8.7. I guess people are doing other things this weekend than watching
well,
movies, but
it's it's not a big go to the movies weekend. It's just not. But
well,
we're really
Novocaine's
getting into the go to the movies time of year though, so it's
we are
coming.
indeed 10.5 worldwide with 8.7 for the weekend. Mickey 17, 7.5 for the weekend. 90 worldwide. It's doing very well.
Okay.
Internationally, it's doing much better than here.
Yep.
Which look, I understand being who the names are attached to the director.
Yeah.
I certainly understand that. Black Bag. I think that had what Kate Blanchett and who's the Assassin's Creed guy? What's his
Um,
name?
Fastbender.
Fassbender.
It's Fastbender.
Fassbender. 7.5 million for a worldwide of 11.6. That actually outperformed Novocaine. I'm very, at least for the worldwide, not the domestic, but Captain America: Brave New World, an additional 5.5 million, and yeah, 388.5 is just such a
It's
disappointing
probably
take.
it's gonna make it to 12 or it's gonna make it to 400. It ain't never gonna touch 500. So
No, it will not.
it is what it is, man.
Number five,
Make
the
make a
day.
bad movie, deal with it.
I agree. The day the Earth blew up, a Looney Tunes movie, 3.2 million. with a worldwide of 5.2. Not great. The marketing behind that really wasn't great either. I don't know
Like, I
why,
didn't
but
know that was actually coming out theatrically until,
yeah, me
like,
neither.
3 weeks ago.
I agree. The Last Supper, number 6, Paddington in Peru, is actually still doing quite good. It's a worldwide of 183, so that's kicking the crap out of both Novocaine
Attaboy, little
and
man. Keep it
yeah.
running.
Dogman, number 8, number 9, The Monkey in 10, Last Breath with um Simu Liu, and who's the guy from Willem no. What's the guy's name from
Huh?
I can't Natural Born Killers? Who's that? What's his name? I can't think of his
Ed
name.
Norton?
No, no, no,
Oh,
no.
Woody Harrelson?
Woody Harrelson. Why couldn't I think of Woody Harrelson's name?
I don't know.
I don't know, but those are your top 10. Pretty slow, which I think tracks with. I would imagine we were out of the slow time by now, but you didn't seem to think we were. So
Nope. And next week ain't gonna help either.
no, it will not. It's a perfect Novocaine time, though. It's a fun movie. We'll get to that in a bit. Roger, take us away to a recommendation for the week. Now, this is a good one, and it just kind of like every time I hear this movie, I just smile because it's so good.
So my movie recommendation is a very under the radar movie that I assure you more people haven't seen this than you think. Like, I think this movie is a 10, and I mean that legitimately, like perfection. It's called The Nice Guys, came out in 2016, written and directed by Shane Black, stars Russell Crowe and our buddy Argos. You know, didn't make a bunch of money, unfortunately, but like this movie is funny as hell. It's got a Metacritic of 70. Let you know like what they're really bringing into it. It's set in the late 70s. These guys are detectives, and they just kind of bumble their way through some stuff involving a porn star named Misty Mountains. So yeah, I mean, like, Grayson, you've seen this movie, I know, right?
I'm a big fan of The Nice Guys, but it's one of those movies that I wouldn't have guessed that Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling would have worked so damn well together.
Yeah,
I wouldn't because they are both stars kind of in their out in their own kind of that's a lot of star power on the screen for two guys to share. And it's like they
yep.
both the comedy that they both give off is such a dry yet very kind of accurate kind of one-liners that aren't
There's a
isn't
ton of one-liners in this movie.
it's not meant to be like hilarious. But like for example, Russell Crowe when they're both interrogating a bartender to find out where someone is, Russell Crowe's like, "We can do this the hard way." He's like, we are right now doing it the easy way." Because it's like because we know he's gonna say the hard way or the easy way. Like right now, like it just that's just to me, it's just funny, and it's the way that
Yeah.
those two riff off each other that makes that movie amazing. And the whole thing with the 70 what it's set in the 60s or
late
70s, right?
70s, late 70s.
With the rise of the porn industry and like there's a weird
Yeah.
kind of mystery they're trying to solve with yeah it just it works so well, and I'm just so
Yeah.
surprised we never got a follow-up to this.
Um,
Not that it really
Ryan
screams
Gosling's
sequel, but
Ryan Gosling's character is named Holland. About when he's taking a shit and that fight breaks out and the stall gets kicked open while he's trying to take a shit. What the fuck? He's just
yeah.
screaming. It's so fucking
When
funny.
he's in the opening, one of the opening when he's like narrating, because he's narrating because like a film
Yeah.
noir that kind of riffed off that, and
Hmm.
he's shaving himself in the car, and then he looks in the rearview mirror and sees himself, and he cuts himself. He goes, and this it just to me that's funny. A lot of
Yeah.
people didn't
It's
laugh at
it,
that in my theater, but
it is
damn near
funny.
made me pee myself.
It's funny.
That's
Like,
it's a good recommend, man. It's just this one criminally was it just flew under the radar, and it shouldn't
yeah.
have because it's so strong of a movie that I'm Shane Black needs to write and direct more things because he knows how to make that. I mean, Shane Black really is one of those guys that knows how to make that kind of movie.
Yeah. Does really well. Like, it's fucking that movie, like, legitimately. Every person I've ever recommended Nice Guys to is like they'll come back to me and be like, I watched that movie. I'm like, yeah, what'd you think? Uh it's funny as shit. It's always that. Like, it's always so funny.
I
So very
agree.
funny.
I agree. He had something to do with the first two Lethal Weapon films, and like those are like,
Mhm.
I mean, I'd put Lethal Weapon 2, I'd put the original Lethal Weapon and Lethal Weapon 2, maybe not in the same level as like Aliens, Terminator, Terminator 2, but damn
I
near,
mean,
damn
for
close.
action comedy though, like, they're there.
It's damn close. Yeah, it's like it almost kind of invented that, like, it perfected that genre almost before
Buddy
it even
cop,
was a thing.
like
Yeah,
it perfected buddy cop.
it's just did it, and those movies are so well done, and I'm so glad we're getting a Lethal Weapon 5 with Danny Glover and Mel Gibson because, I mean, like, the show is okay, but again, it didn't do anything. Nobody like,
No,
it
nobody
shows you
cared.
that's the thing is with all the emphasis on the streaming services and how Netflix is trying to get us away from movie stars and then to shove people in our face that no one really cares about because we have no reason to care about some of these people.
No,
They don't have the resume that, like, oh, I love that guy. He was in this, or I love that girl. She was in this and she did this. It's like we have years of the studio system creating amazing, iconic superstars that are kind of like bigger than the times. And I just in the '80s, man, Mel Gibson was and Danny Glover, they were up there. They were just as creme de la creme as you got. So that's
80s
just kind of
and
how I
90s,
see.
man. Like they were the duo.
They were the
Like that
duo
was it.
indeed. But that's a damn good movie. I'm actually kind of worried that that you might just have taken the next bracket with the nice guys
I
because
mean, like, look, every bracket needs number one contenders. I'm just telling you. And since I know how we do these brackets now, like I'm bringing the fucking big stuff all the
well,
time.
we've kind of gone a promise to like not repeat for X number of years. We
No, so
haven't
yeah,
really got a
we're not
thing.
gonna like anything that's already like if you see it in a bracket, like it ain't coming back. So
At least for a number of years. I mean, we might have to start recycling after a few. I mean, I would say 3 or 4 years,
better
but
better find new stuff to
you know,
reference.
I
That's
totally
all.
look. I got 500 movies off the tip of my head. I don't know about you, Chris, but
Mhm.
I got them, man. I got them. So let's pivot just a little bit. Let's pivot just a little bit. But that's
Talk
a
about
damn
some
good.
action comedies.
Let's talk about some action comedies. I guess I want to frame this in a way that Novocaine is, and I didn't. I got to be honest. I'll be the first to admit I didn't. I didn't really expect much from Novocaine, but I left extremely happy of what we got from Novocaine. There's a couple of elements in play that we'll talk about when we actually get to the movie. But
Okay.
Roger, I want to ask you a question.
Hmm.
How Novocaine the movie is presented and framed, I would argue that we don't get many movies like this anymore. At least a lot of these kind of things where, for some reason, in this country, we just have a problem with, a kind of an average guy down on his luck having to rescue the damsel in distress. How those movies just work out so well sometimes, and sometimes they
Hmm.
don't. And there's a little bit of a twist in this one to make it not
Sure, a
like
little
that.
bit. Yeah, not quite the same.
Which,
Not quite as formula as what you've seen before. But we'll talk about that more in itself.
yeah, yeah.
But I
And
mean,
we
the
get to the
whole
movie. Yeah.
idea of being able to step up and rise to an occasion, people tend to like are drawn to that genre of movie. Where somebody has some adversity and then still has to try to pick up and go and do things outside their comfort zone. So I mean that's why some of these movies work. But also like, look, we see a lot of movies that obviously Novocaine is an extreme example of it, but like we see a lot of movies that try to do that and try to be special and try to do something different and that just flop miserably. So that's always something that can happen. Like you try too hard to be novel or to be like spectacularly different, and then people are like, "Well, what the fuck is this?" Like nobody asked for that.
Well, I think we also see that a lot in like the horror space lately because like the horror movies
Sure.
are just, I mean, the horror movies are just kind of everything these days. You know, you have Marvel, you have Disney, and then you have small budget Blumhouse horror films that do really really well. And I think movies like you have The Wolfman that just, as a recent example, to me, just it just was such a miss when it came
Hmm.
to the elements of filmmaking and storytelling. It didn't work, and for whatever reason, I just didn't. It just the movie just did not jive with me, and that's fine. Not everyone has to like everything,
No, 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 no.
but it's like Novocaine. When we usually, and I'm not saying this happens all the time, but usually when a movie like Novocaine, whose trailer we've seen for almost every single movie you've watched in the last 2 or 3 months, this
It's been a
trailer has been
lot.
on it.
Yeah.
Usually they're trying to push that down your throat because they know they need to make the money quick because they're not going to make it long term. But this is
Mhm.
one of those movies to me that I have to eat some humble pie because, man, I was expecting something that I was just going to just poo poo all over. I walked out thinking this is one of the best movies of the year so far.
It's
So
it's
far,
pretty goddamn good.
I
Pretty
would
good.
agree. But so going back to the formulaic thing
Okay.
is, and one thing I think that I've been kind of planning episodes on is kind of like workshopping ideas. So I want to ask you,
Okay.
how do you think this idea came? Like, How do you think this idea came about in like a screenwriter's mind? They're like, you know what? If a guy couldn't feel pain, and he was an average kind of guy, but he wanted to save the girl that he'd recently fallen in love with, and I wonder if I can make this work. And the answer is you can make it work.
I mean, like,
So,
look, if you have some solid writing and a guy like Jack Quaid, especially, you know, who is generally a likable guy. He's the bad guy in the one Scream movie. Spoiler. From however many years ago that was now. But I mean, like, look, he's pretty famous. You know, he's you
well, his
know
dad's famous.
he's
His,
well, sure, but I mean, like, listen, he's the number one guy or number two guy in The Boys, a massive successful show. So like people know who he is, and he plays a similar ish character, like Goofy, that kind of guy. You know, lanky, skinny dude like nobody really pays too much attention to. Like that's kind of the role he plays in that as well. Um, so like you know, it's he's recognizable enough, and like you know his kind of shtick enough that it it works. So
well,
yeah.
he also plays the role of that. I think he's I think he also that him and his dad both understand the value of that Quaid smile. That it's just so damn charismatic and likable that you can't not like it. And that's a I think the senior Quaid figured that out many years ago, decades ago, 80s, 90s, probably the 80s. He figured that out. But he's like,
Sure.
man, my smile, like it seems like in a movie like this, it's a no brainer to cast someone like Jack Quaid because he's got that everyman look
Hmm.
and like you said, the tall lanky guy. He's not particularly like Hollywood handsome, but he's also his smile
He's not
also does scream
unattractive though,
Hollywood.
so that
No,
does
no, no.
yeah,
That's I
that's the thing
agree.
though. Like he's a different type. He's a different looking kind of guy that opens up doors for things like that. One of my favorite things about Jack Quaid, and I know we're not really talking about him specifically right this second, is he's one of the guys that is like very self-aware of who he is and who his parents and stuff are, because he's just like, yes, absolutely, I'm a nepo baby and I understand that. He goes, I won't be the guy that said that they didn't help me get into this industry, but I don't, I look that as motivation to try to keep going, which, like, look, that's respectable, right? Like
I
it's
agree.
not his fault that his parents are famous, and he's not a bad overly, as far as I know right now, is not a shitty human being. So that's a good thing, right?
As of right now, March 16th, 2025,
That's right.
to our
As the
knowledge.
time of this recording, I have no knowledge if
Yeah.
he's a shitty person or not. So, but yeah, I mean, that's important,
Well, it is important. I mean, especially now, and like, for example, the MCU hung so much on Kang, the Jonathan
Hmm.
Majors character. Now they have to just completely just pretend like that never even happened because he's now like gone because of all the
Yeah.
things he's done. It's like so I hope Jack Quaid kind of remains kind of in that thing, but it's just I think he's as much a reason of the success of this movie as almost anything else in it. And you remember not too long ago we talked about Love Hurts with
I think that was just
Key.
you that talked about
I
that.
taught I
Yeah.
That's a movie that I could not wait to get out of soon enough. I didn't like it from start to finish. It was like 81 minutes, and that was still too long. It just stunk, man. And I guess I was expecting more of that because movies kind of are similar that come out next to each other sometimes. It's just I was I'm very glad that this movie just shits all over that one because it
Oh yeah.
just and why I think is because there's some I think elements in this film that work, such as like Lorne Balfe doing the score is one of those like
Hmm.
it's a very deep reflective score in an action comedy. It's kind of an odd combination, but it works. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But in kind of selecting this movie, one last question I want to ask you about Roger with kind of like
Okay.
the writer's workshop is you take a movie and they're both on Max. I've just rewatched both of them recently. Hot Tub Time Machine, Hot Tub Time Machine 2. The absolute smash success that Hot Tub Time Machine was.
Yep.
It did very well financially and it's critically it was very well thought of and talked about.
It's so seriously funny. The first
It
one, I mean.
I very much think that's one of the hits of that decade of comedy hit, like right up there with
What year was
Hangover,
that?
2010,
Okay, so right on the
the
heels
first
of
one.
yeah, right on the heels of Hangover,
Like
the year after.
very rated R comedy, some stuff that you couldn't that same script just wouldn't fly today. But that's kind of the reason it's funny. And it's just the writing workshop of you take an idea such as you have a couple friends. They're not doing well in life. One of them is suicidal because he just doesn't have anything in his life. And then, we're going to make this better. We're going to go back to Kodiak Valley in 1986. We're going to go back to Kodiak Valley because we loved it when we were young. What they didn't expect
Hmm.
was they're going to travel back in time in a time machine in a hot
Yep.
tub because Chernobyl was dumped on the control
The control
panel.
board, yeah.
And then you have Chevy Chase as like the weird hot
The
tub guy
cryptic
that's
hot tub repairman.
the time traveling hot tub repairman, and then it just kind of worked like this silly ass kind of hmm. What do you think if we threw in a couple friends, a time traveling hot tub, and then going back and reliving some of the decisions of their youth?
Yeah,
Just like
it's
who would ever
funny.
thought that would work? But I think Novocaine's kind of the same way. Is you tape a guy. What is his disease? SIPA, is it?
So yeah, it's I forget the technical term, but like legitimately, he's got a genetic disorder where he doesn't feel pain. So like if he burns himself, breaks a bone, that sort of stuff, like he still gets the injury, but doesn't feel it at all. So
I think that kind of goes again. We'll talk about that when we get an actual movie of why I think that's kind of maybe a deterrent, a detriment also. But
mm,
you take a crazy scenario like a bank robbery. They take a girl who our character is very sweet on, and then he got to go
mhm.
after her to save them. And
Got to go get her, baby.
you keep throwing reasons why he just can't go to the cops, just to keep him on track. You have to keep him out of the way of the cops, and like just for that weird Warriors workshop. To me, this is one of those movies that it works. They
Yeah.
found some of the secret sauce in that, and like so many of those action comedies today, I just don't think work very well, but this one does, and I
Well,
wonder what the secret sauce is.
so in the line of action comedies, like there really are some like big heavy hitters. But one thing I just wanted to bring up because you just gave me that time frame reference. So like in 3 consecutive summers, we got in 2008, we got Tropic Thunder, which I wholeheartedly think legitimately is one of the funniest movies ever made.
I
Like
agree.
the following year, we get Hangover, which is absolutely one of the just the first one. All the other ones are whatever, but just the first one is one of the funniest movies ever made. And then the following year, we get the Hot Tub Time Machine, which is just a fucking banger comedy. Like just a group of guys doing stuff, and it just works so fucking well. All three of those movies is killer. Now listen, I don't consider Hot Tub Time Machine or Hangover technically action comedies, but
Well,
Tropic Thunder
comedy
I do.
being part of them
It,
is just
yep.
elements, silly ass elements that seem to work really well. And it's just those are like that's part of the nuance in film that
Hmm.
I would like to start talking about more. And I think Novocaine's
Sure.
a good example of that. It's like you can look at a movie like Novocaine, and it would be really easy to walk out and shred Novocaine. Look, if you're going to make that argument, I get you. I totally see where you're coming
I
from.
think you're going to be in the minority though.
Well,
Most
no, I
people are
agree.
gonna, yeah.
What I would say the same thing I said about Taken. Taken, like 2008, that also changed a lot of things
It did.
with how those movies were looked at. Because if you didn't like Taken, that's one of those rare instances where it's your fault. You failed to make the
The
connection.
first
You
one
are not
especially,
connecting.
yeah. The first one
Yes,
is a very good movie.
I think the first one is as good as those films can be. I think
I
it's
mean,
a 10 for its
yeah,
own reasons. Yeah.
that's sure.
I mean, look, Liam Neeson being one of those. It's not Liam Neeson is no small reason. But like Quaid also isn't a small reason in this movie.
No.
He
He's
fits the role well. But
yep.
so
Um
I'm worried that I'm worried that the ones we get, and Love Hurts being an example, is just it was such a disappointment to me, that especially how they talked it up with, best actor winner from 2 years prior is going to be in it.
no.
And like I saw a Q&A where like he answered questions after the movie and like, oh, this will be really cool. They're really playing it up. I'm like,
How'd
there's a
that go?
reason. Well,
Not great.
there's a reason they're parading him out there, is because there's no other reason to watch the movie. You got word of mouth, unfortunately, for good or for bad, you're never ever ever going to be able to stop word of mouth when it comes to movies. Not Netflix can't do it,
No,
uh,
no, no.
Prime can't do it, but like they can give you reasons to maybe not listen to your friends and neighbors because at least it's right there available to you on your TV in your own home. And I understand the argument. But
Sure.
this one, Love Hurts. What hurt that movie the most was that people saw and said, don't waste your time. It's
Yeah.
awful. It's
Terrible.
81 minutes and it's awful. I mean, and I look, I for those people out there looking for a value proposition, the most bang for your buck. I totally get it. So, um, it's not like you pay
So
for movies based on length.
no.
So that's another thing. But.
So I got some other action comedies I think that fit real well. Let me know what you think of some of these guys. So one that sticks out to me that is very funny are the 21 and 22 Jump Street. Um like look, I think those fucking movies are incredible. Like I think they are a perfect original and sequel.
I
Like
agree.
fucking wow. What good movies. I mean like hilarious movies. Another good one that's not super recent, but not incredibly old either, is Hot Fuzz, the Simon
Oh
Pegg movie from
man,
2007.
that movie's excellent
Um,
though. It's
Hot
excellent.
Fuzz is fucking good, man. It's really good. A bunch of those Simon Pegg movies with Nick Frost are all they're all good in their own way. I mean, like Shaun of the Dead is a revolution, like is an iconic movie. But I think listen, Hot Fuzz is funny, man. Like it is funny shit. I
Dare I
love that.
say, I think for a lot of the same reasons that Aladdin is so good because it's such a short, condensed story.
Uh huh.
I would say that Shaun of the Dead might be one of the best movies of that entire decade. Like
Sure. Well, I mean,
it,
like, look, you
yeah.
won't hear any argument from me about that.
If I saw that in a top 10 list, I absolutely would not. But like, yeah, that's fair. I totally understand that. Yeah.
And I got one more action comedy that I think that you'll love that I picked to
Okay.
talk about is Shanghai Noon.
Oh yeah, Chris and I both love those movies.
That's all right. Like I know you
Yeah.
guys like that movie. Like I like Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights. I love them. I always wanted a third one. Doesn't seem like we're ever going to get that, but I I love Shanghai Noon. Like I think
Well,
it's awesome.
if we were ever going to get it, now would be the time. We're in that age of 30 years later sequels. Like we're in that
That's
age.
true.
So
It's
but
what
like
would be like
also
25.
those movies work so well because of the stark comparison of Owen Wilson and Jackie Chan. That's the same reason why
Sure.
Rush Hour works so well. Jackie Chan
Hmm.
and Chris Rock are so different when it
Chris
comes to the
Tucker, not Chris Rock.
Chris Tucker. Is like they're so
Mhm.
different when it comes to like the characters they're playing. They each fill such a role that they need to be like complete opposites of each other, and it's
Sure.
and, it's like, and this is like, it's a weird example because not a lot of people like this movie, but one of my favorite movies from when I was in high school, and I, me and my friends probably saw this movie a dozen times. We just loved it. Was do you remember National Security with Martin Lawrence and Steve
Yeah.
Zahn?
Okay, I do remember that.
The not so buddy comedy that
Yeah.
they tried to like frame in like the PG-13 rated R ways. I
Yeah.
think that movie's hilarious, and again, it's a script that just wouldn't fly today. But
No.
it's just one of the just it had some secret in the sauce to me, and like Steve Zahn was that secret. Martin Lawrence wasn't. Martin was still being like Martin from the 90s and 80s and 90s, and like Steve Zahn's what made that movie special to me. But
Yep.
it's just they sometimes work or they don't. And it's a tough thing to do like the rated. Wait, is this is Novocaine rated R? I didn't even see that.
Yes, of course it is.
Is it's a tough thing to get that rated R chemistry right because it's like there's so many restrictions from studios and what you can and can't do and rules of being rated R and it's
Well,
I know it's near and dear to you and me, Roger, because we love the rated R comedy, especially the really good
sure.
ones we
It's
love.
it's hard to make a really good rated R comedy because like you have to be willing to deal with the consequences if you push things in a certain direction. Like movies like Hangover and Tropic Thunder are movies legitimately I don't think you could make anymore.
No.
For better or for worse, it's just something that you couldn't do. But that's also what makes those movies still as funny as what they are. That still hold up even against all that pushback. I mean, like we're talking movies that'll be turning 20 years old in the next couple years, right? And like it doesn't seem like it's that long ago, but it
Well, I mean,
is.
think about old school. Old school
Yep.
is now 22 years
Whew.
old. Or
Yeah.
21 or 20. It can legally drink a beer. Like old
Yeah.
school can legally drink a beer. Old
Yep.
school, what's that? Road Trip
Road
is like
trip.
some of those comedies in that era. Like to me, are some of the like. I know a lot of people don't like American Pie, but I mean, and
I mean, like,
I
look,
understand the argument
I
against it. It's very misogynistic, and I totally get that.
it
And I'm
is
not, you
definitely,
know,
but like, here's the thing: back then, like, it was peak comedy. Like, the
yeah.
first American Pie movie to me is still near and dear to my heart, and I think the second one's actually funnier. But
The third
like,
one's not is not bad either. It's just funny
no,
in a
the
different
reunion,
way.
the
Yeah,
reunion one from a couple years ago was still pretty funny as well.
I agree. I would agree with that.
So, yeah,
And it's just we just I know that it's tough, but we just don't get those movies very often, and I kind of lament that we're in an era of where like it's not only the fact that we don't get them, but it's because it's politically incorrect. The stuff that makes those movies funny, just it's not really acceptable in
It's not
society
there.
anymore.
Yep.
And it's just that's whatever. But this one kind of is on the same border of some of that too, and in
Mhm.
maybe a different way. But let's without further ado,
Uh,
let's get into
well,
Novocaine.
any more action comedies you want to bring up before we shift completely?
No, I just wanted to talk
Okay.
about.
Okay.
No, I didn't. No, I just. But there are at least 2 or 3 decades worth of them out there that I think do work. Some of them,
Well, yeah.
even the
I
I was
mean,
gonna say even the Chris Farley, even like Beverly Hills Ninja. It just it oddly works when
well,
it definitely shouldn't
sure,
have.
but I mean,
But
like, there's all kind like a bunch of the Guy Ritchie movies fit that. Like The Gentleman,
oh, but that's
that's a big
yeah.
one. Um, Other big things like Bad Boys. I mean, come on, dude, like the original Bad Boys.
I
Like,
still think the original Bad Boys is the best of the bunch.
sure,
But
that's an incredible movie. But
I
like,
agree. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there are just so many really good ones out there to make your own list and go through them. It's just a lot of fun to think about it because all those movies are one very funny in a lot of ways, and for a couple of them, like, are real action movies, like Shanghai Noon, especially. Like, there's a lot of action sequences because Jackie Chan is very good at what he does. Or, as he's getting older, that's 25 years ago now, but like, he's very good at being Jackie Chan. So, you know.
No, I totally agree with that, and it's just a lot of them. There's a couple. So recently, I haven't seen that one on Amazon called Brothers. I've been meaning to. Excuse me, with Tyrion Lannister. What's his name?
Dinklage, Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage and Thanos. Why am I blanking on people's names today? Brolin,
Thanos,
Josh
Josh
Brolin.
Brolin.
Yeah, where there's like rated R comedy where they're I haven't quite seen
Oh,
that
I
one.
haven't seen that. No, I haven't seen that.
I also haven't seen excuse me the Apple one with George Clooney and Brad Pitt. Wolves.
So
Wo-
Wolves. So I have seen that, and I'll be honest with you, I kind of dug it.
That's
So I
awesome. That's
could
good
see that
news.
that movie might not be for everybody though. But
So I'm looking at a list
you
now.
watched that off? Did you watch The Gorge? Did you watch that on Apple
Yes,
TV?
I was not a fan of the Gorge at
It's not.
all.
It's well, here's it's not good. So
Yes. I mean, it's got the
not
star
good.
power. It just doesn't have the story. And it's not that it
No.
doesn't have the story. It chopped up a bunch of other movies and stole.
Yeah.
It stole from them pretty much everything. Is to me when you have a movie that involves a secret of or like there's some reason why some of the population turned into these crazy things is you're never gonna they get to a certain point, they get to an origin point of where the disease located, and they realize that the government made it. Well, to me, that's just Serenity and Firefly, like because that's the big secret that the government made the Reavers, and then they tried to cover it up. Like that was the big,
Yeah. Of course.
but like it's just that movie stole from other great movies, and it didn't even hide it. And that's what maybe it's just I'm showing my age at this point, but I don't know. And I'm now looking at a list of like the other guys is a movie that I criminally forget all the time
The
with Mark
Mark Wahlberg,
and Will
Will Ferrell
Ferrell.
movie.
Excellent movie. It's very cleverly written.
Dude, where Michael Keaton's the boss. Or
Yeah.
dude,
He
when
also
Will
works at Bed
Ferrell
Bath and Beyond.
when
Yeah.
Will Ferrell walks in and he's like, "Gator needs his gap back, you punk ass bitch," and like he just looks at him and goes, "Wait, what? Oh yeah, here, take these." He just gives them back. Gator needs his gap back, you punk ass bitch.
I don't know. And then that one when it shows you a close up of Keaton's face, and he's like, "Now be careful. Travel in groups. Don't leave your partner behind. There's a rapist in a serial. And there's a criminal rapist in Serial Heights." He's like, "Wait a minute." And then it shows that he's in Bed Bath and Beyond. He's like, "Oh, sorry, wrong job." He's like, "Don't worry about it." Well, worry about it. I mean, don't go to that place, but
We don't go to that place.
still be careful.
Or how he keeps slipping in like TLC lyrics. Like, don't
and,
go
all,
chase him. Just,
and only Will Ferrell's the only one that notices. Yeah,
did
yeah,
you,
it's
did you hear
wonderful,
that?
man.
Again.
Um,
Yeah.
it kind of in a different way, but like I think Free Guy might not be what we're talking about.
Um, Sort of. So Free Guy's kind of like, it's kind of like on the outside of that. Like, it's in the periphery, but not necessarily specifically that type. Because like Free Guy is kind of a different movie
I
overall.
agree.
So like, look, I love Free Guy. Thought it was a great movie. Everybody should watch it. It's funny.
But then, so we're going back to, I mean, like Beverly Hills Cop is a movie, is
Hmm.
a series that it just never caught me like Lethal Weapon did. You know, it just never
Sure.
caught me like they did. And like, there's so
Well,
many other
the other one is what, 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick
Nick
Nolte.
Nolte, yeah, Nick
Yeah.
Nolte, of course.
Hmm.
There's that one. Like, but then you get into movies like Big Trouble in Little China with Kurt Russell.
Hell yeah. So like, I love
Yeah.
that movie legitimately. Like, welcome to the riding on the Pork Chop Express, baby.
And then you have like one like A Knight's Tale, which I think a lot of people very fondly remember in that age group for 2000 when that came out. If you were in that age group, and that was kind
Yeah,
of
that was a
one
big
that
deal.
one that worked. And another one recently that like I loved, and I'm not sure the rest of the world loved as much as I did. Fall Guy.
So
You know,
I really enjoyed Fall Guy. I know it wasn't like this big over the top thing. A lot of people didn't like it, but like I thought Fall Guy was fucking hilarious. Like when he's all messed up, like on what, acid or whatever he's on, and
yeah.
he's fighting those guys in the club. I was like, this rules. Or like in the big, the when he's finally coming back and he's in that Camaro just doing donuts, like the ripping 80s music. I'm like, this is perfect. Like this is what I want to watch.
I
So
agree. It's just some of those that really kind of work. And like in a movie, I love Tag. I think Tag's more of a pure comedy than it is like an action comedy. It's just pure comedy, but it
Tag's
works for the
funny.
same reasons. The one with Dwayne the Rock Johnson and Kevin Central Intelligence. I'm not sure I loved it like I wanted to,
No.
but I still enjoy watching that movie. But there's a lot of them that just hit and miss. Like, would you consider any of the Kingsmen in that category? Is that more of a serious tone?
No, because I mean, like the first Kingsman especially is very funny.
I agree.
Um, the second movie is, yeah,
They
and
sing "Country Homes, Country Roads, Take Me Home."
the third one is kind of like,
I love it.
I
I
mean, like,
love
look,
that movie.
it's a different movie, like completely different
It's a
tonally.
it's a they were going for a very serious tone
Yeah,
in that one rather than non-serious. But like I know we're getting a sequel to that. We're getting a sequel where we're going to go into World War II this time and try to stop Hitler. And like to me that's doubling down on a movie that like I always swore worked. People thought it didn't, but they wouldn't double down on it if they didn't think it worked. So
sure.
at least to my credit, I'm assuming that I'm right about that one because I mean they
Well,
wouldn't
and
do it
like the only
otherwise.
thing, I'm okay with getting a sequel to that, but like I'd much rather see a third like the third, complete the Eggsy trilogy. You know what I mean? Finish that
Yeah,
off.
yeah. I
But
agree. I agree. So I mean, there's
I
just a
mean,
little list. I think we're going to
yeah.
do an episode on based on this one day because it's something that we all love. All three of us love it. But
I mean,
you
listen, a
know,
good action comedy is hard to it's hard to turn down. Like you like to watch them, they end up being good background music. They're basically like a movie that anytime it's on, you'll just kind of watch. A lot of those movies check that box.
and then
And
I'm
like
looking at.
I
Go ahead.
I say I and talk about things like that. Is like I very recently watched Tropic Thunder again. Hell, I was watching Inglorious Bastards this afternoon. Like
Yeah, I
those
agree.
are fucking great movies, man. Great movies.
Tropic Thunder to me is like it was a time and place thing. You had to be there. If you weren't there, you can't quite understand what a big deal that
It
was.
was a
Especially
fucking big deal.
especially because it came out in like mid August. Like that's movie
Yep.
dead time, and it did
Yep.
such good business.
Yep.
Because we were both in the theater at that time, and
We
it
were.
just kicked ass, man. It just show after show after show was just packed and packed and packed. It just worked. It's just I think one of the things I lament the most with
Hmm.
an age like this, especially with I know that Prime is really putting in a consolidated effort, and I appreciate it to do like rated R comedies right, and I appreciate
Yeah.
that because it's a hard thing to get right, and something like we've watched recently, Ricky Stenicki, which
Love Ricky Sticky. That shit
I
is
I think
hilarious. Not
I
an
think
action comedy though,
sure
but
it's just a
definitely an
pure
R-rated
comedy, but
comedy.
it's one of those ones that it if it comes out on Prime, no one cares because
Yeah.
no one's talking about it. It's not the thing you go and collectively see with your friends with a bag of popcorn with a soda.
Hmm.
That's kind of the secret sauce that's missing. And like so as we go into it, let me ask you, would you have
Hmm.
thought as highly of Novocaine if Novocaine were, for instance, on Netflix, on Prime, like the exact same movie, just not in theaters? Let me
So
ask.
that's a tough question to answer because overall, I think I would still enjoy Novocaine. Now, like, look, am I happy this is a theater movie? Of course I am, because, like, especially the stuff we talk about, where I'm okay with watching stuff at home. I know you're a hardcore movie theater every
I
chance you get
am.
guy, and listen, I respect that opinion. I understand why you have it. I don't know if a movie like Novocaine, like, look, it's big and loud in some spots, so like that's okay. But I mean, it's also one that if it came out on Prime Video, I wouldn't have been necessarily surprised. But I would tell you, I would be very surprised if it would have come out on Netflix, because I think this is good, and most things that come out on Netflix is not good, for
Yeah.
whatever reason. I mean, it's like, when was the last time we watched something that was like directly on Netflix that we thought were like, hey, it's a pretty good movie? Like, it's been a while, right?
I would imagine the last great thing we watched on Netflix was probably Extraction 2.
Fuck, you might be right.
And that was in 2023.
Wow, it's been a year and a half.
Mm.
18
I
months
mean,
ago.
I don't know why. I mean, I don't think I have my theories. Like they don't care. They think that quantity over quality will eventually
Sure.
win out. I mean, they that has to be their theory, right? I mean, at this point,
Yeah.
that has to be their theory is will eventually win because people don't want to go to the theater. It's expensive. It's a hassle. But then if it's to me because like they're cannibalizing their own industry, which doesn't make any sense to me. It just you have people making decisions that are by no means have the mind or the caliber to make those decisions, and that's what pisses me off so much. Is it's almost because it's a joke, and it's so you're okay. You remember Quibi, right?
Yeah.
How angry we were at just the basic idea of Quibi,
The fact that it existed.
and Chris and I were talking about a movie not too long ago called The Stranger with Dane Han, and I forget who the girl was in that they was trying to get away from. They were like she was being hunted by this guy, and things
Hmm.
just kept going his way. So everyone thought she was killing people, and no one. It's almost like he never existed. But
Yeah.
and it had these weird cuts, and I looked on IMDb, and it listed it as episodic, and I was like, oh, when did that come out? And like, oh shit, this was Quibi
Hmm.
because it was I forgot they tried to do that awful episodic approach. They tried to give you bite-sized pieces of a movie a little bit at a time. And they were trying to take advantage of the fact that people are busy. They may not have times for full-length features in the theater. They don't have time to always go there and cart their kids back. I get that, but to me that was a pure cash grab on the fact that they were counting on the fact that people were lazy and they didn't want to go to the theater. And they were intentionally trying to undercut what the movie theater experience is.
Yep.
That's why it pisses me off so much. Another reason is, as funny as it is for like the Nicole Kidman thing is like, oh yeah, she's telling you why. Like those are all true though. I mean, you
Yeah.
can you can think it's funny as much as you want, but all that is true. And then the thing that's like now it's I think she's been replaced by AMC is like that lights and that guy with that deep, sexy voice is telling you why you should watch movies in the theater. And like, but that's all true. As funny as you think it might be, like that's all true.
Yep.
So that's just my thing. That's my spiel on like I find it weird that we're so conflicted about this when to me there is no conflict. There's
No.
none. There's no debate. And I know someone like I mean you and Chris back in the Ohio Valley, the AMC is now gone, so you only
It is
have
gone. I don't get
Marquee.
to see that. I missed Nicole Kidman in her.
I'll let her know. There you go. But
It's good.
um, it's you no longer have the option for Movie Pass or not. Sorry, not Movie Pass, but AMC A List.
Yep.
So you have to pay per movie at Marquee, which is how it should be. But I mean,
Sure.
you no longer have the subscription model service available to you to watch movies unless you want to take a drive, which it's very foolish to drive an hour when one is 15 minutes from you, 20 minutes.
Used to be. Yep. I am
So
happy every now and then when I'm outside of the
yeah,
local area. I get to go back to an AMC though, because like I still have all my points. They don't ever expire, so I can still stack up some stuff.
that's the
It's
good
good.
stuff. Yeah. So let's all right, finally, let's get into
Let's
Novocaine.
do it.
Let's talk about some particulars first. Rotten Tomatoes. I have not looked at that until this very moment. I
I have
am
no idea.
super happy. So, do you want to take a guess?
I bet it's fairly high.
What do you mean? Okay, can you assign a number to your fairly high?
81.
82 and 89.
Ooh, almost dead on. Look at that.
However, let's look at the Netflix is a 59. That's pretty disappointing.
Wait, what?
the sorry, the net the Metacritic. I was thinking of Netflix.
Oh, 59. I mean, like, look, that's fine
You
for
think
an
so?
action for yeah for a movie like this. I have no problem with that.
All right, that's
Yeah.
fair. I'm surprised that the Rotten Tomatoes is so high. Good job, people. I'm for once I'm not disappointed in the public. Good job, people.
I'm
Yeah,
still always going to be that. So,
fair enough. Fair enough. So
mhm,
let's talk about some specifics. Jack Quaid, Amber Mid Thunder, Ray Nicholson, Jacob Batalon. There's some other people in that too. I forget the guy's name from old school. Is that Matt Walsh? Is
Matt
that his
Walsh. Yeah.
name? So they comprise the surprisingly small cast of Novocaine.
Hmm.
It doesn't really require a lot. A lot. It's a they've somehow managed to make it a smaller, more intimate cast for what is kind of a big explosive ride. I mean, it
Yeah.
legitimately is. I mean, it's not Fall Guy big, but
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if the budget for this was pretty low. I got to be honest, but because a lot of it is there's not a lot of big set pieces. A lot of the action takes place in contained areas, so that'd be easy to cordon off and like work a set to your advantage.
Hmm.
But yeah. So what are your thoughts before you do that though? Let's do the thumbs up or thumbs down, Roger. And this I think fairly simple. Like, come on, man, thumbs up.
This is easy, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Sum up. Way
Yeah,
up.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Thumbs way up.
Big time.
So, what are your first impressions coming out of it?
I mean, like, look, I thought Novocaine was really good. Like, it's funny, it's actiony, it checks a lot of boxes, and it's a decent story. And like, legitimately, I wasn't prepared for like a little shot of emotion right off the beginning. You remember that when he's talking to the guy about the hardware
Oh
store,
yeah,
like
of
in the first
course.
5 minutes, I was just like, damn, like I wasn't ready for that, you know. And like this movie's a little bit deeper than you think it is. So and then when he meets Sherry, or like when they finally go out or whatever, and they spend the evening together or whatever, and they learn about like each other's therapies and traumas and stuff, and like that's a big thing for a lot of folks. And like this movie has a little bit more mental depth than what you from what the trailer shows you. It's a deeper movie, and that's a good thing. It definitely helps, and it makes this story a little bit more grounded on ultimately what is basically a superhero film. So
I'm glad you brought that up because I mean, the movie says she calls him a superhero pretty early
yeah,
on. So like, I mean, that's I think done intentionally to put you in the mind frame
yeah,
of whatever he's doing, it's kind of superhero-y, so just
mhm,
accept it. And like I think
yeah,
that's part of the nuance for I think that kind of writing is brilliant because the movie is straight up telling you that yes, this is going to be kind of out there, but now it
hmm
makes sense because they've now told you why it makes sense.
they established this already.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I really appreciate stuff like that because that I
Hmm.
think is stuff like that is lost. Like I'm gonna say Netflix is like they lines like that. Oh, you're a superhero, and he's like, well, not really, but yeah, kind of. It's like even
Hmm.
those small lines just Netflix just doesn't understand how powerful and why that's in there. That's the thing is like they don't understand why that line is included. So I mean that's just one little example to me, but
Yeah.
it's um first impressions is I was very happy with the setup. Like you
Good.
mentioned his the one of the in the first few minutes he's having the tough conversation with the guy who's not only lost his wife recently but was going to lose his store and probably has
And
his home
possibly his
foreclosed on.
house. Yeah.
Yeah, like, what an awful scenario for one of our senior citizens who deserves better than that. I don't know what the guy's financial situation is, but he seems like someone who didn't just gamble it all away or didn't just
No, it's just a bad luck of stuff. His wife died, medical bills, that sort of stuff, and he's behind, not gonna be able to make his loan payments, and
but
yeah.
that little kind of those few minutes it takes just to establish the depth in the film and like, well, you're telling us that Nate is he's a good guy because he's
He's an
helping
okay human
someone.
being. Yeah.
He's compassionate, and I think that's important, especially in a superhero, because you have to make choices sometimes that aren't so clear cut. Choice is the choice is the crux, as Spider-Man tells us, of separates a hero from a villain.
Mhm.
So, or a hero from an ordinary person. Choice is what matters. So that's right off the bat is like I was impressed, and with the score, I think Lauren Balfe did the score. That's those very deep, reflective orchestral moments that kind of come up every now and again.
Uh-huh.
there's something a little different to this film than we've got before. Now, I know we're slated to watch in 2 weeks to watch Working Man with Jason Statham, which I don't think is gonna have that kind of score, but, I think it'll be good
Fuck
for different
yeah.
reasons. Yeah. Uh, but
Hell yeah, brother.
I guess my first thing was I was pleasantly surprised with the elements that come together that make this movie fun are like elements like I wouldn't necessarily put together myself, but
Hmm.
I'm glad they're together because they work in this kind of timeline of things that they just
Yeah.
work. All right.
I mean, so then like as this movie progresses, we're introduced to Sherry, and like he's kind of like been into her for a while and like that sort of stuff, and she asks him to go to lunch and it turns into a thing, and it's kind of cool. And um having somebody like Amber Midthunder, which is a very recognizable name, and if you don't remember what she's from, the big thing that she's from is from Prey on
Yeah.
Hulu,
Excellent,
which
excellent movie.
if you haven't seen that movie, Prey is fucking awesome.
Awesome.
Second best Predator movie, legit. Fucking shit is awesome.
It
Check
is.
that movie out. But yeah, I think she's like, obviously we find out, and I don't want to spoil it, but we find out more about her later on that changes the dynamic of that character. But it seems fairly genuine in the beginning there, so I thought that was
I'm
kind of
not su
cool.
I'm not sure that it changes the dynamic as much as it updates the old formula a little
Yeah,
bit and
okay, sure.
yeah.
That's a fair way to look at it. Sure. Um, the one question I do have, right, is so they work at a bank. Or- Are banks normally open on Christmas Eve? Like, is that
No, I wouldn't or maybe like 11 to 2 or just to get
yeah
last
open
minute
till
stuff out of the
3 o'clock
way.
or
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it
So,
being
also, imagine being the guy, the bank manager, that gets his head blown off like on Christmas Eve. Like, goddamn, like what a shitty Christmas for that family, huh?
Um, well, yeah, I think it'd be shitty for in any scenario that guy dying on Christmas Eve,
Yeah,
not let alone a bank manager. However,
just
it's
wow.
I think so. I want to take a second and just so in the beginning, not only do we get the kind of the slow, methodical, the guy who just lost his wife and is going to lose his business and his home because he just can't keep up and it's too much
Hmm.
for him. And then Nate kind of like, well, I can do this for you. He's kind of telling him how to
Yeah.
get around the legal tape
Well, he's
without,
like, yeah,
you know,
if we'll be able to delay this until after the first of the year, and then the probate stuff, so you have a little bit more money. So he's like, you're probably going to still lose the store. It's probably going to have to close. Yes, but this will
I
probably let you
agree.
keep the house. And like, look, he doesn't do anything illegal, and he doesn't do anything like it's overly like whoa, but it's just enough to where like you're like, okay, man, all right, helping him out. I get
But
that.
in that same token, right after that is when, for example, like you see, like Nate is there in the lobby and he sees the girl come into the door. And it's like that slow motion, like you see him and his reaction like you're seeing the cameras looking at him. We're looking at him look at the door, and he's just like, that's the girl I've been in love with for years, and here she comes into work like she does every day. It's like that kind of Hollywood did this in the 90s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Where
Hmm.
it's not a common thing. I don't see it much anymore, but like that simple little editing technique, slowing down the frame a little bit, just like it adds so much depth, I think, to what's going on and how to set up characters without even using any dialogue to set it up. You visually about what's going on because we're getting
Hmm.
his point of view, seeing her walk in. It's slow motion and she's beautiful, and it's just the sunlight's hitting her right. It's just it, the movie does that very well, and it shows. Like that's the thing is, I'm glad at when you see the twist that like it doesn't go the final step of the twist
Yeah,
and
that's okay.
make her kind of rethink your thoughts on her. Because like even how things go down, I
Hmm.
still don't rethink anything about her character. And I think
No, no, no.
the movie was very careful to like keep everything in check in that way,
Sure, and that's
which I'm very glad they did because Netflix wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have done that. So if you can't tell, I really have a problem with Netflix. So
I can.
anyway,
I mean, I can tell.
so the opening is good. It's strong. It's a good opening for a film like this. It's a good opening to set him up as the everyman, as just
Well,
he's a
it
normal
also
guy
sets up. Well, I mean,
aside from his disease, of course.
yeah, but here's the thing though, like he's very routinized in his thing, gets up, does the same thing every morning, that kind of stuff. And like he explains it all out to like he's got alarms set on his watch and stuff to remind himself to go to the bathroom because if not, his bladder will never tell him that he has to pee, you know? So I think that's
That's
kind of
wild.
interesting.
Can you imagine? Like, that's wild, man. I can't even.
Yeah,
And the
like
whole
it
thing
doesn't.
with not eating. How many times do you bite your tongue when you eat? Like once, twice a year, maybe, Roger? How
Yeah.
how many times?
I mean, listen, I bit the side of my mouth a couple of days ago, and like, son of a
It
bitch,
hurts. It
it
hurts.
hurts, man. It hurts. And
What
like,
is it?
once you do it, then it swells up, and so you do it again. Like,
I wonder
ugh.
how accurate medically that they tried to make this script. Like, I wonder if people with that disease really do suffer with they have to go in the bathroom and
So,
look in their mouth after every meal to make
um,
sure they didn't do
I have
anything.
seen something on, I think it was like a 60 Minutes or like a Dateline thing about this little girl that has that syndrome or whatever it is. And like, it's not a great life. And like, I'm not trying to like shed any like to say like it's not something. It doesn't seem great because like when you don't feel pain, like you end up hurting yourself way worse than what you can. Like you can
Of
break your
course.
arms, your fingers, you can get infections, those kind of things. Like that's the stuff that happens. They basically, even though you don't feel pain, you basically live like at the doctor, to make sure that you didn't actually hurt yourself because your body can't tell you otherwise. So
We
yeah.
we well, we've had another one like that recently with a kid who
Well,
was
that was the Unbreakable Boy,
Unbreakable Boy with, yeah, yeah, about
but that
the
was the complete opposite. That kid
yeah.
definitely felt that pain.
Yeah, which some of this pain so, what one of the things that I thought in this movie was, like, I don't think the script I don't think that it had to, but one of the things I thought it would have done after getting into the movie a little bit was, because, like, he may not feel the pain, but his body is reacting to the wounds as it would in, like, someone
Yeah.
that felt the pain. So, like, his
Well,
body is still
so
doing things, it's trying to stay alive.
yeah, at one point though, he does get shot in the leg with an arrow, and his body definitely struggles with that because like it's harder for him to walk because, things are happening in places it's not supposed to happen. So, I mean,
Yeah,
also think
sure.
about, when he has the first time he gets shot right in the meat of the bicep or whatever, and he just cuts it open. And like even the guy at the hardware store is like, Jesus Christ, what's going on here?
I'm actually surprised we didn't go back to him. I'm very surprised that we didn't and see him doing I know that he gets a little something to help him after that sequence.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm surprised the movie didn't return even for a minute or 2, even for Nate and the girl to walk in and be like, "How you doing?" And he's like, "Thank you." And, like, even for that small little you know me, Roger, I like to see all my loops closed, I like
You
to see
do.
everyone
You
happy
do.
and,
But I mean,
you
listen,
know
I also appreciate that he threw him a couple of stacks of money and was like, you need to launder that.
he made the which to me is hilarious.
Yeah.
I guess this movie does have like I guess story problems, and you bring up the money. It's like so these bank robbers are just willing to just leave after the thing went wrong. However, the car with the most of the money is now gone, and the
Yep.
the, the
Missing.
life that they
MIA.
the life that they talk about is like you need all the money you had to go with that life. So they don't
I
seem
mean,
to
I get
ever
the vibe
acknowledge.
that they have robbed other banks
Okay,
before.
fair. I get that, but in the I guess what I'm I guess what the one thing in this movie does that one of the cardinal sins to me is you take the time in the beginning and you have someone like Lorne Balfe who does these deep, very moving scores, a lot like Thomas Newman, like a lot
Hmm.
like Randy Edelman, like some of these people from the '90s. They do these deep, reflective, moving scores, and then you set up this thing where this guy is willing to literally risk his life and fight people with military training when he does not have that
Hmm.
to save the girl he's recently started a thing with, he's been in love with for years. But we never get that kind of like we get because like she kind of protects him in the end, but we never
Uh
kind
huh.
of get the assurance that because we never know if the beginning was if that was her doing her job or it was her really kind of reacting to his charm. We
Yeah.
don't we I
Well,
mean,
I
we're
mean,
left with the fact that she does like him, right?
yeah.
And that's okay. To me,
So,
that's a cardinal sin. It's like if you're gonna set it up, you have to return to it and more than just kind of, well, we're showing you. Well, no, I need to be told sometimes because you took the time to set it up. So I
mhm.
need to be shown more of that, I guess is what I'm saying, especially with the guy in the constructions or the hardware store. Like we needed to go back to him again. We needed one more outing with him, even for just 30 seconds. We needed it. We didn't get it. So, but I understand why we didn't. I mean, this movie's already, I think, a tad long for what it is. So,
Well, I mean, so it's like 100 minutes, which is generally a little bit longer than what these normally are. So, I mean, I don't know if that's good or bad, but
well, it didn't feel overly long to me. Did it feel overly long to you?
no, because it flows pretty well. But I mean, we get some wild sequences in this movie too, though. That like there are some large, like not large scale, but like there are some like intensive action scenes that only take like 40 seconds. You
Yeah,
know what
that's
I
true.
mean? Like think about the fight in the restaurant where like which you see from the trailer, where like he swings the flaming hot cast iron pan at that guy and he catches it and just sears his hands, and when he sticks his hand into the deep fryer. And the one thing that I am impressed with, right, because it's something that a movie like this generally doesn't have the quality to stay up on, is obviously Nate doesn't feel pain, right? Like
Correct.
that's the thing. But his body takes physical damage, a good bit of it. So like when he burns the hell out of his hand with the deep fryer, okay? Like the whole rest of the movie, his hand is really burned up. You know what I mean? I mean, at one point though, he does get it bandaged up when he's at the hardware store and stuff like that. But like that is definitely something that we see happen
Well,
in
okay,
this movie.
so if an average person, if someone like you or me who feels pain, if we
Mhm.
stick our hand in a deep fryer, that hand is not usable anymore for.
Excruciating, excruciating. Like
But
no,
like
we
it's not.
probably
But like
we pr-
he's.
if no, because like it'll still work, and it's just going to hurt every time
Yeah, because the skin.
because
Yeah,
yeah, the skin, like the nerves are fried in that. So like yeah, I mean physically it'll still work at least for a while until the swelling kicks in, but he's not going to feel that shit either. Which is also one of the real things, like for people that have this affliction, is when they do hurt themselves and they don't know, they make it worse and worse and worse because they can't react to their body like, hey man, this hurts bad. Like we're in trouble here,
I
you know.
agree. That's. I mean,
The other
I
thing
get
you'd
what you
have to
said.
really worry about would be like an infection,
Of
like
course, of
bad,
course,
bad.
because you wouldn't necessarily feel the telltale signs that a normal person would. Like, doctor, I
Nope.
need you take a look at this. Is
Yeah.
so. So for someone like him, a job with health insurance is a must.
Yep. Yep.
I would imagine it's a must, but it's so I was one of the things I was surprised about was how I don't want to use the word brutal some of those sequences got, but they
It gets a
some
little
of them
gory. There's
some
some
of them really,
brutality in this movie.
but I think that's kind of the movie just like really going into what it is. You know, it's like
Sure.
especially like the booby trapped house. It's like, come on, man, like you're just having fun with that. I mean, the director's just having fun with that, right? Like, just
Yeah, but
it was
here's the thing. Well, it's kind of over the top. It fits in this movie and doesn't seem like it's out of place. Does that make sense? Like
no,
it's
it
definitely
does, it
there
does.
and it works out pretty well.
But it's a good thing he can't feel pain, or he would have been out of this fight after the first few minutes of it starting. You know what I mean? Like he wouldn't have. That's the convenient nature of anything like this. Is like his shtick is what allows him to move
Yeah.
through this movie. The shtick
Well,
of he doesn't feel pain.
I mean, can we talk about when he goes out on the date with Sherry
You
and
mean with the pie at the
no,
beginning?
at the bar
Oh, oh yeah.
where that guy comes
Of
up
course.
and like interjects himself into their thing or whatever, and he's like, "Holy shit, Novocaine!" And I thought to myself, is because you see early on his last name is Kane spelled with the I, and I was like, God damn, Novocaine is a fucking sweet nickname.
It's a badass
And
nickname. It is.
yeah, like, and she doubles down. He's like, yeah, the kids were really, not great about this. She's like, I think Novocaine's an awesome nickname. And I'm like, hell yeah, it's awesome. But, I thought that whole sequence was funny, like with the ghost pepper sauce or whatever. And
I can't imagine. I would be in such excruciating pain. I couldn't even. Here's the thing. Okay, so just to put it in the reference, at least for myself, of like put a frame of references. So like a couple of weeks ago at the office, they did this thing where like they bought some of like this hot ones challenge, and
no, fuck that.
they
Mm-mm.
put a bunch of wings out, and like it was 1 to 10, and like anyone could try anyone they wanted, but like the thing was like you had to start at 1 and try to make it up to 10, and like I didn't. I can't do that kind of thing because I have no
Mhm.
tolerance for that whatsoever. However, I made it to 2 and I was like and then I dipped a piece of carrot in number 4 and I about passed out. I couldn't I just well, like, there were some people eating it like it was just normal food. I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't know how
so,
you guys
like,
do
I
it.
can't do that shit, and I don't try to. Like, look, I don't mind a little bit of spice, like, yeah, a little sweat on the forehead's okay, wake you up. Like, I don't need snot running out of my nose, and I don't need to be in physical pain when I eat things, like, yeah.
So when he takes that shot of the ghost pepper sauce, like, that would probably kill me. Like, I'd be dead or in so much pain. I wouldn't know what to because water doesn't help you. Well,
No,
what would help
beer
you?
does. Beer
Oh,
helps.
does it
Beer and
really?
milk. Yeah, well,
Okay.
so yeah, like you see a lot of people with when they're not drinking milk for things like that, they have the beer or whatever because like beer has its own special medicinal properties for that kind of thing. So yeah,
I
nice
agree.
cold beer and a flaming hot shot of ghost pepper sauce. No,
So
Yuck.
my next question to you is let me ask you chemistry. In the couple of sequences that they share that scenes that they shared together, I'm not quite convinced, but, like, I don't know if
No.
because of how the movie plays out, I don't know if that was intentional or not.
So I can see what you mean by that because like, look, I felt like they had chemistry together, but like they're apart for like 85% of the movie, 75% of the movie, right? Like they are not together in any real interaction. So uh, it's hard for me to say that you're not right on that because I can definitely see where you're coming from, but like I don't know if that's a fair assessment with just the way the movie's laid out. But like I think they did fine together. Like it was believable enough to me. Like they shared a heartfelt moment, which seemed legit and turns out is legit. So you know that's fine by me. I don't have any issues with that part of it.
Well, I mean, I just because the one sequence that you see with them in his apartment is, like it is a nice moment, especially for him. He deserves I mean, that's something that he's been too shy to try with girls. He's not really
Mhm.
kind of he just my disease is a lot, and,
Yeah.
well, I guess
I
one of the
mean,
problems
what
I
about
have
his sweet fucking full chest piece tattoo that he's got?
I thought, well, that was we all knew what was gonna be the centerpiece of that. I mean,
Sure.
it was a night tower. We all knew what was not there, and for the reason it wasn't there is like this. Not only is the story not finished, but it it wasn't that's like the. I mean, I'll say it as a twist. I mean, I don't mean twist in the film, but like that's like the new upgraded version of something like this is. The girl doesn't just need to be saved. It's not just she's helpless and needs to be saved like it would have been in
No.
the 90s, 2000s. It's
No.
there's a twist to it that makes her character slightly more important than it would have been in
She's
the
not just helpless, yeah.
no, in the 2004 version of this, whatever that would have been,
Yeah.
is like, but so the finishing of the chest tattoo is pretty awesome. Actually, is like
Mhm.
to me that was thematically because it is telling a story, like she says, but the story's not finished as it wasn't, and we knew what was going to end up in that tower. Is like I just thought that
Sure.
was really kind of a visual way to show that.
Yeah.
Speaking of tattoos, how'd you like the sequence in that guy's tattoo parlor?
So, I was gonna bring that up because, like, you talked about the gory and brutality part of this, like, when he's holding that dude down and he's tattooing as a fucking gun and he's tattooing his oh, dude, just, like I was just like, "Ah,
All over
no!"
the swastika? Yeah, it's like
Yeah, he's got the always classy swastika neck tat right here on the throat,
always
and
classy.
oh, God bless America.
Well, like,
That's
if you want the audience to not like someone, that's how you do
sure.
it.
That's
Yeah,
it. That's it.
so, like, I can
Um,
tell that, like, maybe there was a question of, well, this guy's kind of a badass. He served, he's big, he's a weightlifter. How can we make him instantly hateable? Oh, just give him a Nazi swastika on his neck, like, hateable. There you
no,
go.
and everybody's like, "No, yeah, that tracks. Sure, yeah, no, fuck that guy."
But I like that
Um,
sequence a lot because I guess what I'm getting at is these sequences is
oh, how about
Nate
the
has
baseball bat thing into his armpit?
oh, dude, that would have been that would have led to death. I mean, it's so I guess one thing with these movies I always look at is our hero Nate has zero military training. He has no fighting skills. He's just a
Mhm.
dude that
Can't feel pain.
he's a dude that can't feel pain, and he's able to walk away from a lot of these situations. And let me ask you a question about the script allowing him to do that. Are you
Mhm.
convinced in all of the altercations that he had that yeah he would have walked out of that exactly that way? I'm
Well,
not quite
so
sure I am.
the one thing though. and you're probably correct in that, right? He's obviously got some plot armor, which of course he does. But the thing is, like, he doesn't do anything that's like outside of the realm of like normal person fighting, right? Like, he doesn't dive out of a car, tuck and roll, and get up and like snipe somebody out from 100 plus yards out with a pistol. Like, he doesn't do that. Like, he shoots somebody in the face at direct close range. You know what I mean? The big guy, ends up really taking him down with a broken baseball bat, stabbed him with it, and that really turned the tide of that.
Right here, man,
And
in the orange, like right
yeah,
there.
like, oh
Ugh.
god, gross. Um, but yeah, so like, I don't. The fight that he gets in at the end with the brother, and the name's eluding me at this point. Um, he gets his ass kicked pretty bad, and like, he uses it to his advantage with a bone sticking out of his own
Oh,
arm.
dude.
Brother named Simon, by the way. Yeah, Simon. Um, yeah, when he uses the bone sticking out of his forearm to end somebody's life. And like, look, it's gross and very fitting for this movie, I guess. But
I guess for what we've already gotten, especially
yeah,
when, like, the dude was trying to hold it, and, like, I felt it for a second. I was like, "Oh god, that's so painful." But, I mean, all of that stuff is excruciatingly painful for any
yeah,
normal person who feels pain on a normal scale.
yeah,
I don't mean
gross.
to say that, like, normal person as in, like, he's not normal. I mean, he just has a caveat. I mean, I don't wanna say that, but, like, any my nail gets pulled out, I'm clocking out. Whatever, I'm
So
done. I can
I
go to the
really
hospital.
did think that was funny when he's being tortured, and he was
Yeah, but
just like, "Oh
unfortunately, we
yeah,
saw that in the trailer. Unfortunately, we had seen
sure,"
that
but
already.
it's still funny though. Like, or how about when he kills the guy with the arrow that stuck out of his arm or out of his leg with his stabs it
Oh,
through
he
his neck?
oh,
What? Yeah,
right, and then
that.
his friend's like, "This if anyone else walked in here, they might have some questions," and it shows the wide shot of the dude, like, in his lap, and he's like, it
Yeah.
looks very compromising.
Hmm.
So let's talk about the
Wait,
friend.
sure, Jacob Batalon.
Let's talk about
Yeah,
Spider-Man's best
Roscoe.
friend. I don't I don't know how much I like him in this movie.
I
I
mean,
don't
like,
even know if
look,
he's
he.
necessary.
I think he plays a role. Necessary, I won't go so far as to say, yeah, this movie couldn't have been the same without him. But like, I like having him there. Like, I think Jacob Batalon's is a good actor. Um, I like him as he's describing himself. And he's just like, we can't all ride a Harley and have long flowing hair and a man bun. He's like, it's not a man bun. It's a short pony. I told you that. Like, he corrects him
Yeah.
about his fake hair. And then when he shows up, he's like 5'7", bald, drives a fucking Vespa. I thought that was funny.
I
So,
yeah, I'm surprised Jacob Batalon's not getting more work. Being in Spider-Man kinda made him, but,
well, I mean, he's
um
got that. He's on that. He's the lead in that Hulu, the FX show, um, the vampire show. What is that
Oh, is
called?
he? Okay, I didn't realize he was, but you're
Yeah,
right
hang
about that.
on.
You are right about that.
What is that called?
I did think
Reginald the Vampire.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he's the lead in that show. So yeah.
I did think of one of my serious plot armor moments was in the house that's booby trapped, and he some reason has the helmet on again after he's taken it off in the room with our 2 guys that are scuffling,
So I can
and
tell you
he
why he has it on.
I forget why he put it back on.
Well, he puts the mask on when he comes at him with the bear mace
Oh, that's
because
right.
it's got the eye cover thing on it. Because, like, look, that is also something you wouldn't want to fuck with, is bear mace, because like that's like mace that's like 10 times stronger than human mace.
No, I get that. I think one of the most plot armory things was well, they had to find a way to put especially because the hammer comes down, like, that's it. That's lights out for without any kind of protection, that's lights
Mhm.
out, you're dead.
Probably dead. Yeah, you're right.
It's like one of those, like, "Oh, of course, that's, plot armory," but, I mean, I guess he had to put it on to yeah, to shoot the mace, and
Yeah, I mean,
it's
like,
all
look,
in
it
one
makes sense at
sequence.
the time of why
Sure.
he has the helmet on again, but yeah. But I mean, also, it's just like when when Nate's like, "Oh shit!" Like, because it just fucking clocks him.
He just dunk, and then he just falls
He
from
just
edge to
falls like completely just
edge.
dead, dead right over off to the side. Yeah,
Like, almost in rated R comedy kinda way, yeah, like,
yeah, just
uh
fucking out cold.
Yeah, it's one of those things. That whole house sequence to me is so unreal because like it wouldn't have gone down like that. Like that guy would have killed both of them, and it would have
I
been
mean,
it.
like,
That'd
look,
been it.
he makes a Home Alone reference. You know, he's like big Home Alone fans here. So
Yeah, it's one of
yeah.
those well placed. Um, I know you and I talked about it before, but I think a lot of this comedy lands. I laughed out loud for some of these one liners,
Hmm.
especially from Matt Walsh. Is that his name? Walsh, the guy who plays the cop.
The cop, yeah,
Yeah, if you want to look that up for a second, is
yeah,
they arrive up on that first crime scene where people were
yeah.
shot.
Matt
Yeah,
Walsh playing the
yeah.
cop Coltrane.
He's they him and another detective arrive on the crime scene. Is a crime scene where a guy was shot in the head and a lot of people were taken hostage and there was a machine gun fire and he's like, oh, this is a good week to quit drinking. And she goes, oh, you finally quit drinking? He's like, no, no, no. If I was going to, this would have been a shitty week to quit drinking
Yeah,
because it.
bad. You know, he goes, yeah, it's a bad day to quit drinking. She goes, holy shit, you finally quit drinking? He's like, no, but if I had, it'd be really bad.
I just think that's funny. And
Well,
when
because it's so out of left field, like you're not ready for it.
and
But
in the kitchen after Nate has killed one of the bank robbers, he's wearing a
yeah,
Santa suit. Is she's like, oh, is that one of our bank robbers? And he's like, well, he's either a bank robber or they killed the
or
real Santa Claus.
where they killed the real Santa Claus,
Which
just
I
in
just think is
fucking
funny
yeah,
because the
just
shot of
deadpan.
because when
Yeah,
he says it, the shot is like it's a long shot of just those two standing in a room by each other, and he's just looking at him like, "Did you have to say it?" Like that to
yeah.
me,
Why?
that's
What
funny.
the?
Is
Yeah.
I really enjoyed some of the and there's other comedy bits too. Um, one of the more I think original story beats when I only know this because like I don't see them original story beats very often. They're not repeated in almost every movie we watch of a genre, but is when the cop he's in communication with the detective via cell phone for a couple of scenes.
Hmm.
I thought that was actually kind of interesting and something we just
Yeah,
don't see a lot of because usually it's like, oh well, the movie puts in reasons why they can't talk or reasons why they can't
yeah.
catch him or then they said, fuck him, let him talk on the phone. Like to me, the
So
right, like, well, let's see if this works.
I love when she's like, "I'm just gonna call him, see if he answers," and then he immediately answers the phone. So she pays him $20.
I do like that. I just some of that comedy lands, man. It's
Yeah,
just
it works.
I really hope that Novocaine is kind of a template for these kind of movies that are just now going into production. That like they look at the success of it and how well it's received, and they go
Well,
with it because it works.
the thing is, you can try something a little bit different, and it still have it turn out to be successful. Like, look, Novocaine's a pretty good movie, and for most people that watch it, they're going to like it. The thing is a movie like Novocaine might not make any money. I mean, like, look, it does get the thing. Hey, it's number one movie in America for at least this one week, so it's got that. It will always have that thing to put up on your mantle, right? But I never did look up the budget for Novocaine, but I doubt it was super high.
I doubt it's over 40.
Let's see.
Hold on, Novocaine budget. Novocaine.
Oh shit, it's only 18 million.
Oh, see, that's a win.
Oh, like look, okay, so never mind. This movie should make its money back and be successful. That's good, right? Because like this movie deserves to make a little bit of money. Like it's not ever going to be like, look, it's not going to make 100 million. It's probably not ever going to do that.
No, of
But
course
like,
not.
it could absolutely roll into 50.
But let's
And
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a serious
sure,
question about last week.
okay.
If you going into last week watching Mickey 17, would you have
Mhm.
ever guessed that you'd enjoy Novocaine more than Mickey 17?
Probably not. Now, like, look, that's not really a knock on Mickey 17 because like I thought Mickey 17's okay. But Novocaine's good, and
Yeah.
it's better than Mickey. That's for sure.
I know it's
That's for
hard to
sure.
I know it's hard to compare the two apples and
Mhm.
oranges. However, I don't depends on how you compare them. And I mean this because Novocaine, if I'm giving an argument, Novocaine understands what it is. The filmmakers knew
Mhm.
what they were making and they leaned into it. And I have immense respect for that.
Yeah.
Doubling down on the comedy, doubling down on the fact that he can't feel pain is
Well,
like they made
and
the scenarios work for that person, for that character.
they didn't try to do anything overly complicated either. They didn't try to do like they didn't try to pull one over, get to like to be too clever. Like they don't try to do that. Now, like, look, is there a mild twist in this movie? Yes. Is it very in line with the rest of the story though? Sure, and it works, and I get it. I like it, but it's not like no one tries too hard here. So like, go watch Novocaine, people. Check it out. Let me know.
I think Novocaine's great, man. I was very surprised. So
Yeah.
I guess as we kind of wrap this up is I was happy the twist. I was happy to see the twist. I was happy that the script was a very competent script, and the
Yeah.
ending kind of like on a movie that's already off the rails, kind of gets more off the rails. But it
But it's
also,
very fitting for the rest of the movie.
I think, for like an example, if you haven't seen it yet, the argument that he has with the villain in the ambulance is like it's very like Novocaine centric to the movie. Like it fits in this world. It
Yeah.
just, they're talking about certain things, and it's just, I think this movie, something like this is great. Something like
Yeah.
the reason why this works, or like the reason why I'd even say Flight Plan, for lack of a better example in my head right now, is like that movie may not be great, but it's also not an awful watch. It's fun.
No, and it definitely just sort of goes in an order. They.
I mean, even if you're watching for the half-bald Mark Wahlberg, y'all need a pilot type
Yeah.
of, that's fine. But yeah, I think Novocaine it's a fine watch. It's a fine way to spend a Saturday night. Get a tub of popcorn, get a soda, go to town, get some candy, and just, I think it's a very enjoyable experience for you and a friend. For, if it's, I mean, for a date movie, why not? It's fun. It gets you
Sure.
talking about action films, and it's just, I think this is a win for theatrical releases. I really do. I
Well,
don't think they're
so
all wins. I think this one's a win.
let's take 10 seconds and talk about the last few movies we've watched. Okay,
Okay.
and I'm not going to count any of the Oscar stuff in there because like Enora and Conclave are excellent movies. So I'm not going to say. So Novocaine better than Mickey 17. Novocaine is better than Unbreakable Boy. Novocaine is better than Captain America.
Oh,
Um, so obviously better. We're going to talk about that. It's better than Flight Risk. So I wasn't here for Wolfman. So was it better than Wolfman?
yes, leagues ahead of Wolfman.
Okay. Um, and it's better than Den of Thieves 2. And that's what we've watched since January, the beginning of January. So
Doesn't seem like enough movies.
no,
There,
well,
there should
it's
have been 10 in there or so. You didn't
well
mention
because a
10.
lot of I took out
Oh,
all
the
the
Oscar.
stuff
Okay,
Oscar
fair.
related stuff. But yeah, so going back just a little bit more. So is it better than Nosferatu?
No, not even close. I mean, Nosferatu is a
Pro-
damn good movie.
yeah, so probably not. But like that was right around Christmas, and then right before that was Sonic, and
It's
you
better than
know
Sonic, I think.
it's probably better than Sonic. It's
These
better
are
than Moana 2. It's better than Gladiator
these
2.
are like very quick. It's not
Yeah,
really meant to be. It just,
no.
yeah. I think it's. I mean, it's.
All right, here. All right, let me ask you a serious question, okay? Because this is the other movie that really stepped up, and I wasn't ready to things that we've watched in the last 20-ish episodes here. Okay, do
Wicked.
you think Novocaine is better than Heretic?
I would say no, but I don't.
I would probably say no too, but it's kind of close. But two wildly different type of movies too,
Well,
people.
I
So
would say
don't
no,
don't.
but what I was going to say, I mean, I would say I don't think it is. However, I had to think about it.
Yeah,
So yeah, but Heretic's also a very fine movie.
it's here's the thing. Heretic did something different, and congrats to them for that.
I agree.
So.
What else? What else you got? Anything else in that on
No,
that
I
list?
mean that's really it. Like go check out Novocaine, give these folks some money. I'm sure the thing is Novocaine is going to be a movie. It's going to be out on streaming relatively soon. It just kind of has that vibe. And like, look, I'll definitely watch Novocaine again. So check it out.
It's a fun movie. It's like
Yeah,
background noise. It's fun just to, if you're fooling around on your phone and you turn it on while you go to sleep. It's like another one of those. Like, oh yeah, I like this sequence. I'll watch it
you could
type of
watch
thing.
Novocaine on your phone, and
You hear that, Ridley Scott?
Ridley Scott would be unhappy with you. A callback from God, how many years ago that was now? But yeah,
2021,
yeah.
2021. But
So
my whole
all
outlook
right,
on Ridley Scott has changed with Gladiator 2. It's just like I used to defend him. I'm not quite sure I would anymore, but that's a whole different conversation.
you can watch Gladiator 2 on your iPad.
You
Go right
definitely
ahead.
can. I have it on there too. I have it on
That's
there.
right. They sold, bought and sold through Apple. That's right. Fuck
Well,
you.
Roger, thank you for joining me for this very delightful episode of Novocaine, episode
Yes,
21
sir.
Post Credits Podcast, where we are lucky enough to talk about movies with you.
Mhm.
Uh, each new episode posts every Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. on the podcast service of your choice. That's 5 a.m. East Coast time. I stopped saying that, and I've been told I probably should say that again. So 5 o'clock New
I
York
mean, if
time.
it posts at 5 o'clock East Coast time, it also posts. It's been posted on West Coast time. So
That's fair. just earlier, I
You know
think.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, doesn't
yeah, yeah.
matter.
No, but that's the time of posting. So, anyway, it will appear on your podcast service of your choice of the following six. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube.
Yep.
Please
So
leave a
we,
comment or rate or review. Every little bit helps. More importantly,
yeah,
thank you very much for watching. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the like button.
yeah,
If you
yeah.
if you like our sometimes silly rants, please give us
If
some
you
love.
are
We
watching
like
this
that.
on YouTube though, because like this is the one where you can really leave comments on, tell us what your favorite action comedy is. Tell us, or tell me that I'm full of shit, or that like I have a sweet short ponytail right now. So, because I do. What's up, folks?
Any
That's
of the above is
that's
appropriate
it.
comments to leave. Yeah, you can say
That's
Roger
it.
looks like the Unabomber with that damn beard of his. Whatever you want to
I
say.
could put on my hang on.
The aviators. Here we
I
go.
can get the aviators on. It's we did that a couple episodes ago where me and Chris just constantly cycled out aviators, but
Yeah,
yes.
you like a whole different person. Like you look like someone from Chips, or
I
like
feel like
a
someone from Chips,
or like a
honestly.
cop,
Like,
like a bicycle cop. Like yeah, of course. Yes, yes, yes. Or
yeah.
like someone in the Broken Lizard cast. Yeah, one of those guys.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
no, definitely. I would fucking they would like me. We would be friends.
Out of Super Troopers. But again, thank you
Yeah.
for joining us for this episode, and we will see you next week for what is sure to be a banger with Snow White. None of us have
Uh,
seen it, but
First
it's
cursed movie of the year, baby. Yeah.
here we
Get
go.
it.
Let's go, Disney.
Get it.